So here we are, first quarter of the new year in the books already. My goodness, how the time is flying. But be it as it may, here we are, another month, and that can only mean another update from my side with all my dividends, interest and cashback income. So without further ado, let's get started. So let's kick things off by looking at my dividends that I got for the month of March. So here we are in my GetQuinn account. By the way, really amazing app. If you haven't tried them yet, check it out. Here I connect all my various brokers that I have as well as my Bitcoin and can track it all in one dashboard. So really cool tool. But yeah, basically, if you see here, my dividends are nicely growing year after year, and now close to $1,500. Now I have it chosen in dollars, but obviously you can choose the currency that you prefer. If you mostly get in euros, then select euros, whatever works best for you. But I have most of my currency and investments in dollars, so it makes sense for me. But of course, I want to see what I earned in the month of March. So just click the year over here, 2024, and then you can select from any of those different months. So obviously January, February already behind us. February wasn't the highest month, but now March actually, as you can see, was a really good month for me in terms of dividend income. $152 I made. So really year over year, it's an increase of 215% compared to last year, same time March. Now, obviously that also factors in that I continued to invest more into my dividend stock. So naturally that number should go up. So I'm happy to see that overall getting up there, so which is really nice. So let's have a look into all the various positions that paid me a dividend in the month of March. So starting off with Lockheed Martin, one of the smaller positions that I recently added to my portfolio. That's basically a US defense company. So yeah, I added them only recently, still a small position. And you can see, of course, the payout is also fairly small with $3.8. So yeah, not enough for a Starbucks coffee, but still. Then of course, we have my true and tried Vanguard S&P 500 ETF that I invest, and that's a distributing ETF, meaning they pay me a quarterly dividend. Some of those S&P 500 ETFs, they can also be accumulating, meaning they accumulate and automatically reinvest those dividends on your behalf. So you don't actually get it, but actually you will get more shares. So technically the returns are the same. I just like to get it in my account and see the dividends. Ultimately, I myself choose to reinvest it right away anyways. But the choice is up to you. And recently I actually did a video about Vanguard S&P 500. Most likely I'll be switching it to another ETF provider, still based on the S&P 500, but it has a lower expense ratio. Right now I'm paying 0.07%, and the new one I chose has only 0.03% expense ratio. So it makes a difference long term, definitely. But yeah, for now I can see I got a very nice payout of almost $50. So that's really not shabby. And that's still a year-on-year growth of 22%. And still considering I haven't really bought much of that ETF in recent times, as I really focused on individual dividend shares. Even though in the future that might change, I will do a future update video on my portfolio strategy going forward. Now you can see here, I got a second payment from the same stock basically, and you may wonder, why is that? Because I bought it through different brokers. The biggest one is an Interactive Brokers, but I also bought a small position just to try it out on Trading 212. And you can see, I mean, that's a tiny fraction. So obviously it's really a small amount. The biggest part of that ETF sitting on my Interactive Brokers account, but still nice to see that you have all the various dividends from all the different brokers. That's why I like it, because I always recommend have a couple of brokers in place in case one goes down or some challenges or technical glitches, you can still continue investing. So I always like to have different brokers. Then we go down the list. We have Meta. Can you imagine? Meta finally started paying a dividend. Before, I never invested into Meta. I actually didn't buy Meta shares. I got them as a referral. So if any of you uses my links to sign up of any of the other brokers, you get a free share, I get a free share. So I got Meta as a bonus, and usually I sell those shares right away and then either use the money for something else or buy some other shares that I really like. But in this case, now that Meta finally started paying a dividend, I actually decided to keep it. Even though you can see, I mean, that's 1 cent. Obviously, it's a tiny position that I have, but still really nice to see that Meta finally joined other big tech companies paying a dividend, and hopefully in the future that number will only grow. Then of course we have BlackRock, one of the biggest money managers in the world. A lot of people have different opinions about them, but be it as it may, ultimately they are really invested into most of the big companies in the world. If you can't beat them, join them. And I think they'll continue to do well. And yeah, they paid me almost $20 in dividend. That's a quarterly dividend that I get from them. And yeah, my position is not so big, so still nice to get the $20. I mean, the dividend has been steadily increasing, and definitely a company I really believe in. I might actually buy an ETF from them, which I'll also speak about in a future video. Then we have my biggest individual position in my portfolio, which is Realty Income. That's a real estate investment trust. They paid me now $23, and that's not on a quarterly basis. I get that every single month. So you can see also the increase 3,000%, because obviously I kept on buying more and more of those shares in the meantime. Even though the stock has been declining in share price because of obvious reasons, financing is very expensive in the US and other things. But for me as a long-term investor, I'm really happy to build up a bigger position in them. And yeah, I think long-term, once the interest rates will start falling, we will start seeing an increase in the share price. I'll be benefiting from some nice juicy dividend incomes in the meantime. Then my second real estate investment trust is Agree Realty. I call it the small brother of Realty Income. It's a very similar business model that they follow, but they're much smaller. So technically, you could imagine that the growth potential might also be higher. They're obviously facing the same macroeconomic challenges as Realty Income, but at the same time, I'm still getting my monthly dividend as the second company that pays me a monthly dividend here, $5.3. So that's getting closer to my Starbucks coffee. So really not too bad. And I really think there's a nice growth prospect ahead of themselves. Then we have Microsoft, another smaller position in my portfolio, $1.30. Also, the dividend itself is very small. So yeah, not really too impressive, but still, I like Microsoft being now the biggest company in the world. Honestly, with their growth prospect ahead, what they're doing with OpenAI and other technologies ahead, I mean, honestly, some really impressive stuff. Actually, I forgot I have Microsoft also in another broker, and they also paid me almost $2.50. So yeah, I mean, small position, small yield, but still a company that I think in terms of price appreciation still has room to grow. Then in a smaller position, S&P Global. Yeah, a company I was quite bullish on, but honestly, now I feel the dividend yield is just so little. And actually the price appreciation over the last 10 years has been really good. But now I'm not too sure I want to keep investing right now into them. I prefer rather investing into S&P 500 rather than the individual company. And that's actually the company behind the S&P 500 that compiles it amongst many other things. They do different indexes, reporting, analysis, etc. One of those products is obviously the S&P 500 index. But investing in the company wasn't great at the time. But I don't know, somehow I lost my love for it. As I said, the dividend yield is very little and the price appreciation so far hasn't been coming in. So I might shift out of this position in the near future. Then of course, one of my other bigger position in my portfolio is Pfizer. Some people may never invest into this company because they don't like it for moral reasons and other reasons, what have you. And I totally get it. Everybody has to find what works for them. None of those stocks are buying recommendations. That's just a company where I see long-term potential despite the peak that we had in 2020, 21. Obviously, they came down quite a bit. I opened a nice position. It has still been dropping since then, but at the same time, the dividend I'm getting, you can see, is really quite impressive. $46, and that's paid to me on a quarterly basis. And actually my position is much smaller compared to the S&P 500 that paid me almost the same amount, but it's more than 3.5 times the size of my Pfizer holding. So really, in terms of dividend yield, what I'm getting from Pfizer right now is very attractive. And I really think I benefited from getting a good position in Pfizer during those low prices, because long term, hopefully, if the stock recovers, then I locked in some nice shares and continue reaping the rewards from those dividends, obviously. And one thing to keep in mind, if you don't like to invest into Pfizer, then I wouldn't recommend you to invest into the S&P 500, because if you invest into the 500 biggest companies, one of them will also be Pfizer. So yeah, definitely overall very nice months. I think it's actually been the highest month so far. If I go back to 2023, I don't think I ever crossed $150. Yeah, I haven't. Before, the highest one was here in December, 120. So you can see that's really a record. And actually next month will be $1 higher, 153. So really nice to see positive development. As I said, I haven't bought the last few weeks actually any dividend stocks. I invested more into the S&P 500, which has traditionally a very low dividend yield, as well as bought more Bitcoin. Sadly, I do have a limited budget like everybody else for months what I can spend my money on. But in the future, I will update and share with you my new investment strategy and share how that will impact my dividend income going forward. And if you want to follow along with all my weekly stock buys that I'm doing, I share all of those very transparently in my weekly newsletter called Smart Money Moves, which you can sign up free of charge and you'll get it every Wednesday into your inbox. Next up, let's move to the interest income for the month of March, starting off with the interest I earned on Lightyear, which is one of my brokers of choice. And you can see right now my cash position, my lifetime interest I earned. And if I go into my Euro account, which is the biggest holding I have here, you can see last month's interest was actually 48 euros. I used to have a bit more. I withdrew some money and used it to buy some other assets, but still, just for keeping my money here, getting almost 50 euros in interest paid to me, really not too shabby. Next up, let's move to Trading 212. I would say this is the broker where I've seen the biggest growth in my portfolio overall, where I've been actively more investing because obviously there's zero commissions on stocks and ETFs, plus incredible interest rates that I'm getting. So you can see my portfolio value obviously increasing accordingly month after month because I really enjoy that broker very much. So let's click into interest over here. And then you can see right away the interest on cash that I made last month was 74 euros. So really nice number actually, all time 236 euros because I started a little bit later than with Lightyear. And you can see I'm getting 4.2% on my cash. That's actually paid out to me on a daily basis. You can see here all the various payments. If I go back into overview, obviously I can also get money on my different currency that I keep on my Trading 212 account. For example, on US dollars, I also have a bit of money over here. Not that much. Still, I got $2 and almost 70 cents. And yeah, really nice. Here I'm getting 5.1%. So actually sometimes I'm thinking, well, I should be converting some of my euros into dollars and obviously benefit from an even higher interest rate. And from pounds as well, I'll be getting 5.2%, but I don't have too much pounds. Like for me, it's either euros or dollars, but if you're pound based in the UK or what have you, then still 5.2%, really attractive number actually. And yeah, really enjoying the experience, the app, and overall really feeling good with trading 212. Well, as a matter of fact, let's do it right away. All I have to do is manage funds, click convert, and let's convert, let's say 10,000 euros over here. And then into US dollars, you can see there's a fee because yes, they make it very transparent. They do charge a small fee, which is 0.15%. Now you may say that's very expensive and probably I could be cheaper off sending it to Revolut, exchanging it there, sending it back, but I already have the euros over here, so might as well do it. And if you think about it, and I've just run the numbers, that 10,000 euros at the additional 1% with my dollar holdings basically would give me $8 more every single month in terms of interest income. So after 2 months, basically I already paid for the fee and anything after 2 months will be extra income. So yeah, it makes sense for me. So let's go ahead, confirm, and it should take a second. Boom, it's done and it's already moved into my dollar accounts. So you can see if I go back into my interest on cash, now I have $12,000 sitting over here and only 10,000 in my euro account. So now I'm getting 5.1%, so sorry, 0.9% more, but still it does make a difference, maybe 2.5 months afterwards, but then long term, I will make more money with that rather than my euros. And as I said, I buy most of my shares in dollars anyways, so I will have to convert at some stage into dollars anyways, so definitely makes sense for me. Then let's move on to Trade Republic. And here you can see I got 172 euros interest in 1 month alone. So really, I'm always surprised by those numbers, really not too bad because I'm getting 4%. Obviously I have a large amount of money sitting over here, but yeah, honestly, that's a sizable amount. And actually that interest alone is still more than I made with all my dividends in 1 month, right? So really not too shabby, and that just shows you the power of interest in a high interest environment. Once the interest comes down, obviously I won't get such amounts anymore, but then I will use my money elsewhere, right? Deploy it into the markets, but always it shows you put your money to good use. Don't just keep it at home or in your cash account where you get 1 or 2%. Really make the most out of it. It goes a long way. And lastly, we have Revolut that I use for my savings. And you can see I get also paid interest every single day, 2.6 euros per day. So for the full month, I earned interest of 64 euros. So again, really not too bad just by keeping my money here. And actually they pay a quite nice interest of 3.95% per year, that is. I also have some dollars sitting over here where I'm getting 5.33%. So actually even better than trading 212. So maybe I should shift some money over there. But then again, I don't buy stocks on Revolut. So that's why I keep that in trading 212. But still, in terms of interest, really nice. I'm getting now 78 cents per day, which came out to a cool $21.50 for the whole month. I'm happy to take that. I use Bank, which is a really cool app. So here, as you can see, I'm getting now 5% interest on my dirhams. Now the dirham is pegged to dollars, so it kind of moves in line. So I'm really happy holding that. It's basically very similar to the dollar. So it really moves in line with the dollar. So for me, it really works well. And you can see here, I'm getting 5% interest, which made me 246 dirhams last month. And it's paid out every single month. And yeah, that's almost 64 euros. So really not bad once again by using that. 5%, that's a nice rate. I haven't seen any other banks in the UAE offering such a high rate. Very simple, love the user experience. So I'm actually using the WIO Personal and WIO Business Bank account. And lastly, let's move to the cashback for the month of March. And there you have it. Last month, I got 30 euros in cashback. Now, surprisingly, it's a little bit lower than the previous months. And actually, I'm quite happy about that, right? Because that's not something to be proud, because the higher the amount is, that means the more you spend. Now, having been the last month in Tenerife in Spain, obviously there are not so many temptations like there are in Dubai, right? So it's a double-edged sword. So yes, it's less, but at the same time, it also means I spend less, right? So yeah, I'm quite happy with this. Still 30 euros. Didn't exactly cover my Revolut Ultra plan, but at the same time, I benefited from having things like insurance, using the airport lounge when I traveled, having access to Financial Times, NordVPN for free. So a lot of benefits. Now they added a Revolut eSIM. So I have globally 3 GB available every single month. So a lot of benefits. So if I add it on top of the 30 euros, that actually well pays for my monthly plan. So if I add up all the numbers from dividends to interest to cashback, all in all, it's 443 euros for the month, which given that it's all passive income in a way, it's really a nice number, which of course I'll be working harder to make sure it grows in the future. It's not enough to live from that, obviously, but still for purely getting it passively by putting my money to good work, I'm really happy with that. Next up, check out this video here. I really appreciate you for watching all the way until the end. Not many of you are doing this, so if you are, then really thanks for that. And as always, stay healthy, get wealthy, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.